This didn't turn out the way I planned. But this is what happened. So hey, anyways, welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christine KRSTINA. This is where I read books, talk about books, no special effects, no theme music, no fancy schmancy going on here. And even a co-host. There she is, the queen bee. Yes, the co-host. The one that wants all of my attention all of the time. So, it was supposed to be, and you'll have to let me know in the comments how successful I was, because I personally believe I was probably only about 50% successful, but please lie and tell me I was 100% successful. Please, 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 please. Oh, and, the ham would like you to lie to. Just say I was perfect. Just say it was absolutely perfect. Okay. Love through love letters. The secret love letters of Olivia Moretti. Priscilla, Devon, and Bailey haven't been close in years, but when the sisters are forced to come together to settle their mother's estate, they discover a secret. In the old trunk, they happen upon ownership papers for a house on the Amalfi Coast, along with love letters to their mother from an anonymous man promising to meet her in Italy during the summer of her 65th birthday. Now they're questioning everything they were told about her history. In order to get answers about the woman they thought they knew, they'll have to go back to where it all started. See what happens. The Lost Letters of William Wolfe. Inside the walls of Dead Letters Department, letter detectives work to solve mysteries. They study missing zip codes, illegible handwriting, rain-smudged ink, lost address labels, torn packages, forgotten street names, all the many twists of the fate behind missed birthdays, broken hearts, unheard confessions, pointless accusations, unpaid bills, unanswered prayers. Their mission is to unite lost mail with its intended recipients. She's gonna knock all these books off the table. But when letters arrive addressed simply to my great love, a longtime letter detective William Wolfe faces his greatest mystery to date, written by a woman to the soulmate she hasn't met. The missives capture William's heart in ways he didn't know possible. Soon he finds himself torn between the realities of his own marriage and the letters of whoever is sending them. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. What? Lord, we gotta go on a diet. The post-it note love affair. The flat chair. I think this is that one. After a bad breakup, Tiffany Moore needs a place to live fast and cheap. Desperation makes her open-minded, so she answers an ad for a flat share. Leon, a night shift worker, will take the apartment during the day, and Tiffany will have it nights and weekends. He'll be there only when she's at the office. In fact, they'll never meet. Of course, since they live together, sometimes they need to share information. Tiffany and Leo start writing each other notes, first about which day is garbage day, then politely establishing which leftovers are up for grabs, and the debating evergreen question of whether the toilet sheet should stay up or down. Soon they're sharing details of their lives, their work, their families, and their romance. And it's amazing how much they learn about their flatmate just by sharing face. Even though they are complete opposites, Tiffany and Leon soon become friends. So, what happens when you meet? Will you still like each other when you actually physically meet each other? Have to see. Blue flowers. Is this the right one? Oh yeah. I'm doing Oh, you know what? You'll see this one again. I'm doing a flowers video. I don't know when, but Marcos has just been through a divorce and moved into a new apartment. He feels alienated from his ex-wife, from his daughter, from society. Everything feels flat and fake to him until he begins to receive letters at his new address from an anonymous troubled woman who signs off as A, and who clearly believes she is writing to a former tenant, her ex-lover, in the aftermath of a violent breakup. Marcos falls under the spell of the maniac hypnotic mistress, and for the first time in years, something moves him. So what's gonna happen when they meet? Get this off my screen. What's gonna happen when they meet? The undertaking of Heart and Mercy. Hart Ralston is marshal tasked with patrolling the strange and magical wilds of Tamara. It's an unforgiving job, and he's got nothing but time to ponder. Mercy Birdsall never had a moment to herself. She's been single-handedly keeping Birdsall and Son undertakers afloat in the defiance of her sullen jerks like Heartache Hart, the man whose knack for showing up when her patience is thinner. And after yet another run-in with Merciless Mercy, Hart finds himself penning a letter addressed simply to a friend. Much to his surprise, he receives a reply. Interesting. I think I've done this one before. Tessa Dare when a Scot ties the knot. On the cusp of her first London season, Madeline Greenwich was shy, pretty, and talented with a drawing pencil, but hopelessly awkward with a gentleman. She was certainly to be a dismissal failure on the London marriage hunt. So Maddie did what generations of shy, awkward young ladies have done. She invented a sweetheart in this heart-warming Scottish romance. A Scottish sweetheart who was handsome and adorable and devoted to her, but conveniently never around. Maddie poured her heart into writing the imaginary Captain Mackenzie letter after letter, and by pretending to be devastated when he was not really killed in battle, she managed to avoid the pressures of London society entirely. Until years later, when this kilted Highlander lover of her imaginary shows up in the flesh. The real Captain Logan Mackenzie arrives on his doorstep as handsome as ever, but not entirely as honorable, wounded, jaded, in possession of her letters, and ready to propose marriage. Oops, what's the girl gonna do? Oh, and hey, Selena! Naked guy on the cover! The Noel Letters. For nearly 2 decades, Noel Post, an editor for a major New York publishing house, returns to her childhood home in Salt Lake City to see her estranged, dying father. What she believed would be a brief visit turns into something more as she inherits the bookstore her father fought to keep alive. Reeling from loneliness, a recent divorce, and an unanticipated upheavals in the world, Noel begins receiving letters from an anonymous source, each one containing thoughts and lessons about her life and her future. She begins to reacquaint herself with the bookstore and the people she left behind, and in doing so starts to unravel the reality of her painful childhood and the truth about her family. I'm not sure about that one. Words from the Heart. Ivy Yoder hasn't heard from John King in over a year. She knows it's time to let go of the idea that they will one day marry, but it means she'll be one of the oldest single women in her Amish community of Birch Creek. When quirky Sevilla Shebel asks her to help clean out an attic, Ivy gratefully agrees for the distraction. Noah isn't from Birch Creek or even Ohio. His job as an auctioneer takes him around the country and away from typical Amish life, but he still remains devoted to his family. So when his aging aunt asks him to clean out her attic, he agrees. Plus, who knows what curious items he will find up there. As Noah and Ivy work side by side, they come across a different kind of treasure, a packet of letters written during the Korean War. Soon they are swept up in the story of two young people falling in love, even as they remain determined not to. See what happens. A Keeper, Graham Norton. Elizabeth Keene returns to Ireland after her mother's death, intent on wrapping up that dismal part of her life. There is nothing here for her. She wonders if there ever was. The house of her childhood is stuffed with full of useful things. Her mother's presence already fading, and perhaps had she not found the small stash of letters, the truth would have never come to light. 40 years earlier, a young woman stumbles from a remote stone house, the night quiet for the tireless wind that encircles her as she hurries further into the darkness, away from the cliffs and the sea. She has no sense of where she is going, oh, then she must go on. The riveting new novel confirms Graham's status as a literary voice. Where are the letters? I missed that part. I must have, don't know. Jane Austen's Lost Letters. Antiques appraiser Josie Prescott is in the midst of filming a segment for her new television show, Josie's Antiques, when the assistant director interrupts her to let her know she has a visitor. Josie reluctantly pauses production and goes outside, where she finds an elegant older woman waiting to see her. Veronica Sutton introduces herself as a friend of Josie's father, who died 20 years earlier. Veronica seems fidgety, and after only a few minutes, she hands Josie a brown paper wrapped package about the size of a shoebox and leaves. Mystified, Josie opens the package and grasps what she sees inside: a note card bearing her name in her father's handwriting and a green letter box. Inside the box are two letters in transparent sleeves. The first bears the salutation, "Dear Cassandra," the later, "Dearest Fanny," and both are signed Jane Austen. Could her father have really accidentally found two previously unknown letters by one of the world's most beloved authors? Reeling, Josie tries to track down Veronica, but the woman has vanished without a trace. What's the secret? So, I might not have been so good in my looking for letters. Maybe I shall try this again one day. When Annie Liz Burrard books a room on the Brittany coast at the Bow Ridge Hotel, she has no idea that her vacation will put her on the path to unearthing a 30-year-old mystery. After finding and reading an abandoned manuscript in a hotel room, she discovers an enchanting story as well as mysterious address written within the pages. She sends the pages to the address in hopes of reuniting the owner with the novel. The response, which she receives a few days later, astonishes her and sets her on the path to uncovering every person who held the manuscript in their hands. 3 words. Goodbye. I don't know why I also these were supposed to be love letters. I got that wrong. Europe is in turmoil and a second world war seems inevitable, but Violet has unfinished business and needs her granddaughter's help. Estranged sisters Clara and Madeline Summers reluctantly agreed to travel to Paris, Venice, and Vienna together, echoing a journey Violet took 40 years ago, inspired by famed reporter and globetrotter Nellie Bly. In each city, they will deliver a letter in which Violet will say goodbye to one of the most important people in her life. Claire ever dutifully sees the trip as an inconvenient detail before her wedding to millionaire Charles Hancock, but it is also a chance to embrace her love of art, which her fiancé does nothing to encourage. Budding journalist Madeline relishes the opportunity to develop her ambitions as a writer, determined to report on the growing threat of the Nazis' party and Mussolini's control in Italy. The Last Love Note, Emma Gray. 2 years after losing her husband, Cameron is a bit of a mess. Lurching from one comedic crisis to another, she does her best to navigate work, friendships, and parenting a 5-year-old without Kane's support. When a flight diversion on a beach trip unexpectedly leaves her stranded in a beach town in Australia, Kate has a chance to process her grief. Can she let go of her life and risk her second heart? I guess I went by the title. I screwed up on this one. Debbie Millcomer, Love Letters. Summer is busy season at the inn, so proprietor Joe Marie Rose and handyman Mark Teller have spent a lot of time together working around the property. Despite some folks' good-natured claims to be the contrary, Jo Marie insists that Mark is only a friend. However, she seems to be thinking about this particular friend a great deal lately. Jo Marie knows surprisingly little about Mark's life due to no small part to his refusal to discuss it. She's determined to learn more about his pace, but first she must face her own and welcome 3 visitors who, like her, are setting out on a new path. 23-year-old Ellie Reynolds is taking a leap of faith. She's come to Cedar Cove to meet Tom, a man she's been corresponding with for months, and with whom she might be falling in love. Ellie's overprotective mother disapproves of her trip, but Ellie is determined to spread her wings. Maggie and Roy Porter are next to arrive at the inn. They are taking their vacation alone since their children were born. In the wake of past mistakes, they hope to rekindle their marriage and to win back each other's trust. Where are the love letters? I got fooled. I really did. This was not the list I was looking for. This was so not the list I was looking for. I really got had. I didn't pay that much attention. I should have paid more attention to the actual contents and not the titles. I really feel duped, and I'm sorry. Our last one. Dear George, dear Mary. Inspired by hundreds of letters, witness accounts, and journal entries from the 18th century, Dear George, Dear Mary explores George Washington's relationship with his first love, Mary Eliza Phillips, the richest Bella in America. Prepare to be swept away into the 1700s from breathtaking scenes of New York's polite society to battlefield victories in Harlem and beyond. Dramatic portraits unveil a Washington on the precipice of greatness, and also a writer of romantic poetry and a fine dancer. His ravishing love is New York heiress Mary Eliza Philippa, whose beauty and refinement disguise a deep and complex inner struggle. Though imaginative writing that moves swiftly from society balls to bloody battlefields, this novel opens up George Washington's inner life. Washington's actual words reveal more than historians have focused done before. So, I would probably give myself a C. This did not turn out the way I expected. I am very, very sorry. But anyways, we are all human. We all make mistakes. Maybe I'll try this again later. But the Post-it notes was probably the closest one. But anyway, I shall look again maybe one day. This was a utter failure, but I'm glad you stayed with me this whole time. And if you haven't checked out Eve Dallas on Saturdays, please check out my Eve Dallas J.D. Robb readings. Sunday's unboxing. Later today is, or earlier this morning was Star Trek Next Generation recap or Star Trek Voyager recaps. Monday is Flashback Monday. If you can have a few suggestions for that, I'd appreciate it. And of course, my daily book reviews. Thank you so much.